I made a short film a couple years ago called Catcha Cat. It's about my cats doing mischievous things around the house, playing hard to catch and making me late for my tennis match. I got asked a lot of questions about how did I get the cats to do all the things in the movie. Are they show cats? Are they trained? So I'm putting together this making of video to answer some of those questions and explain some of the editing tricks. Somebody even gave the film an editing award, and the cats got a best performance, plus a mention in the New York Times, so maybe it didn't totally suck. There's a link to the original film in the description. First off, Clyde and Birdie are not trained show cats. They are, however, brother-sister pair who've never spent a day apart, and they were found in the woods and brought home as a surprise from Megan. There are also a couple of ne'er-do-wells who ain't got no jobs and sleep all day, and they were raised with these two dogs, Bella and Pappy, another brother-sister pair. They all get along as a big happy family, especially when treats are involved, which was the real magic behind their performances. That and some simple editing tricks, which I'm going to dive into next. Quick backstory about the location. In 2018, Megan and I packed our bags and loaded the animals and moved from Austin, Texas to San Diego. We moved into this amazing house across the street from Balboa Park, and it was this house, the perfect sunny California weather, and a great chapter of life that gave me the urge to make the film. The equipment used was this full-frame Sony a7 to shoot in HD, this 28-77 kit lens, and this photo tripod. Because it was just me filming, and in some of the shots, all the shots are locked off, meaning no pans or tilts, and this allowed for the invisible split screen and composite editing tricks you'll see shortly. The software I used was Premiere for editing and simple masks, After Effects for any difficult masks, and Photoshop for touch-up and removing unwanted things in the frame. Okay, so let's begin. The first shot of the cats coming off the bed was me just standing off camera with some treats. Bella's head going down, sulking because she can't eat trash, just footage reversed. Shot of them walking by the dogs again, me with some treats. Then escaping through the front window, which was some of the first footage I shot, was actually them doing this. This is probably the only trick in the movie that they actually do. Same thing, just on the other side of the window with some treats, then move the camera to capture the action and edit it together. This is the first sequence that I used After Effects to composite layers and get the final footage. First shot is a simple clip of the background or plate where nothing is moving, and we'll use this layer to add on the other clips. The second shot is a Birdie in the frame, then her actions rotoscoped or cut out so we're left with just her walking out. The third shot is the same thing done with Clyde, rotoscoped out, cut out, so we're just left with his actions, and the final shot is me walking through to give some foreground action. Same thing, cut out. And when the layers are placed on top of one another with the background plate as the bottom layer, we get this finished shot. There are a few instances where I use Photoshop to remove like my hand here or these power lines, so I'd export a clean frame from Premiere. Open in Photoshop and cut out only that section. Then save as a PSD file and import right into the Premiere timeline on top of the footage in question. Next, for all the actions of cats seeming to fly over walls, I'd stand just on the other side of the wall and give them enough momentum to tip-tap the top of the wall and continue over the gap. For this shot I used Clyde as the base layer. Then in Premiere I used a moving crop with feathered edges on Birdie's action. Layered it on top on Clyde, and synced the actions one after the other. And because we didn't know anybody in San Diego yet, I played all the tennis parts. This was another split screen trick of doing an action, change costumes and move to another section of the court, and repeat. And because the actions don't cross over each other, I could use Premiere to crop and layer the clips one on top of the other. This extra court layer is helping to hide some mismatches in shadows and rough edges between the layers. Me playing these two guys on the bench, invisible split screen. Here's another simple composite in Premiere. Birdie the black cat is the base layer. Clyde is masked out and his clip is layered on top of hers and their actions are synced up, and the impression they're working in tandem is believable. So here's what I figured out while making this. I did have to get them doing the action, like going around a corner or jumping up and capture it on camera. I just didn't have to have them doing it at the same time. The split screen and composite tricks rely completely on the background not changing or the frame and just capturing a bunch of different actions. And with different actions captured, you can add or subtract anything and combine layers or do invisible split screens to tell the story. All I had to do was think up the action and figure out how to accomplish it. Honestly, the most time-consuming part was gathering the cats and waiting around for 2 seconds of actions. Oh, they didn't do it exactly as you asked? Because they're cats? You gotta wrangle them and wait and wait and wait, and then go get them. Camera's rolling, and after 5 minutes of getting nothing usable, you've got to cut. Honestly, it took all summer working a few hours a day to get all the footage. Cats would only work so much they want to go inside, and then I had to give them catnip. This shot of them jumping up on cue was again done with split screen in Premiere. Here, Birdie's action is usable. Then, so is Clyde's jump. Now, in Premiere, cut out the usable sections of action, line up the clip heads, do a split screen crop, and see what you get. What's that? Cat food left in the shot? Shit. Well, quick Photoshop layer to remove it. All these aerials buggering up the sky, Photoshop again, and they're gone. This biting sequence was done in After Effects. I got them to hold onto my arm during some playtime, rotoscoped them out, then roughly matched a point of view still image of the gate to layer it on. I made the clip really short because the rotoscope job was super rough, but you get the idea. The shot of them coming back over the wall was done the same way as earlier, with a tip-tap momentum up and over with unobstructed footage of each cat. Then, in Premiere, cut out the usable actions, line up the clip heads, then do a split screen crop, and here you can see what actually happens when their actions cross over. It starts blending because the edges. In this instance, I cut to a close-up of just Clyde landing and avoided too much headache. Plus, they get another close-up. The tennis ball face hit scene was by far the most technically involved because I played all the parts. That meant I served a ball that also hits my face across the court. I'm sure there are better ways to do it, but this is how I used Premiere to accomplish it. The first sequence was to set up some green markers for me to stand on. Then I'd walk back from the net to those markers and stand perfectly still until my buddy serving was able to get a good couple ball hits. Once we had a good hit, we had the three pieces I needed: the walk back, the hit, and some additional acting after the hit. The first step was to mask out the walk back. I used Premiere and it worked well enough. The second part was to fast forward to the ball hit and mark it on the timeline. Then we cut out all the misses, and after that we're left with the walk back to immediately getting hit by the ball when we sync up the markers. The green dots allowed me not to have to walk back each time and focus on getting different ball hits and still be in the same spot as the end of the walking bit. The next sequence was to change costumes and mimic in roughly the same spot, speed, and direction as my buddy who was serving the balls. Once I had a take I liked, I marked my ball hit on the timeline. Then, dropping the opacity on my layer, I was able to overlay the two layers and line up the actions. The important thing here was to make it look like I hit the ball my buddy actually hit that hits me in the face. So I focused on syncing up my racket to his ball. Feather my layer edges, bring the top layer opacity back to 100, and the two layers blend pretty well with the action tying them together. The last bit was to change costumes one more time and go play this doofus in the corner. Find his reaction to the face hit, mask him out, feather the edges, and let him act it out. The final step is removing the green dots with a little Photoshop layer. Extend the edges of the clip heads to match duration, and we're left with this decently okay tennis ball face hit sequence. Something interesting about the street sweeper was I originally filmed some sweeper footage not knowing what to do with it. Then I figured out the ending should be the cats getting scared by the brushes, but of course I didn't have that footage, so I waited 3 months until one day the city decided to repave our street and there were sweepers everywhere. You can actually see 2 of them in some of the final footage here. Then I stopped one of the drivers and asked for his help. He said, "Dude bro, you were out here 3 months ago filming and that was me in your original footage." I couldn't believe it, and with my long-lost sweeper brother, we traded numbers, and he agreed to come back the next day and help me get the rest of the footage. It wouldn't have happened without that dude bro sweeper. The last tricky bit was this shot of the cats jumping up on the wall, then jumping over the dogs. I needed the dogs at this wall, but at that time of day, the sunlight was only good at this part of the wall, and I was so ready to be done shooting this thing. So I shot the dogs here, and used a horizontal flip to make it look like they were actually here. With this being on a corner lot and this shrub anchoring the viewer in time and space, the horizontal flip works. Next we did our tried and true split screen of each cat action to get them synced up on the wall, but the second part is once they're up on the wall they jump again over the dogs. So I set up the camera at the spot that I could capture the cats jumping up, like at this wall. Then, using Premiere, I masked out each cat jumping action and placed it on this shot of the dogs following my hand with a treat in it. With a little tweaking of angles and direction, the combined effect works. And it's so short a sequence that again you can't really tell how bad my Premiere and After Effects abilities were at the time. This is actual footage of me learning masking in After Effects and Premiere. The final 2 trick shots are the cats coming through the window together and walking in sync on the bed. For the door window it's a moving crop composite, and the bed is a split screen. And remember, the most important thing is to not move the camera for composite and split screen tricks, and give lots of love and treats for on-camera furry creatures. Thanks for watching, and keep an eye out for my next short film, Under the House.